I go off to college, state school, transferred to a Catholic university, met some great friends, really fell in love with my true Catholic faith for the first time. Stayed on for grad school, got a master's in theology, and then I went on mission at a youth ranch for delinquent youth. Tragedy struck pretty early in. 2 weeks after I was there, I was alone with the boys. Just 9 boys and myself, because the manager had approved my coworker to get off for the night. And 4 out of those 9 boys had no intention of being at the ranch anymore. And so they concocted this story, unbeknownst to me. We'll wait till Mr. John, as they called me, goes to sleep. We'll take garden shovels to him as he's sleeping so we can steal the keys to the truck and go in the middle of the Wyoming high desert. And that's what they did. They beat my head in, skull fracture, hand fracture, blood clot on my brain at 10:30 at night years ago. One boy not involved in the assault ran to get help from the staff house. He saved my life. He came back. The staff came back and helped me, and I was airlifted to Billings, Montana. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I recovered for a full year. Okay, what does this event in my life have to do with my Catholic faith, which I love at the center of my being? When the assault happened, I was 24 years of age. I was 24. And then really my question was, what is really real? I'd almost lost my life on mission for Christ. What is really real? Is this life all that there is? When you ask the question, you have to do a little bit of searching. But even if we explore kind of natural means, the vast majority of humans have always thought this life is not all there is. There's something beyond. Immediately the thought comes, well, if this life is not all there is, what happens next? Christ immediately says in the New Testament, I am the resurrection and the life. When we talk about the 4 last things, we talk about the traditional teachings of the church of judgment, purgatory, heaven, hell. Now, because we're Catholics, it doesn't sound all that great. 4 last things, here we go, more guilt. But let's try to take a look into it. Okay, what do these mean? If we don't get what is it to be a human being first, we're not going to understand properly the 4 last things. It means that I have a nature created for something. I have a desire for something. Is that, as Aquinas says, we're charged with this inclination or desire, as he calls it, to go somewhere. Now, heaven is the fulfillment of human nature in the vision of God, which is complete happiness. Hell would be in our freedom. It's when we say no. Hell is turning our backs on the real good, the offer of God, to embrace lower goods. And I'll use examples. Let's call her Sherry. In the eyes of the world, she might not be worth much. She's not worth lots of money. She had a very kind of unfortunate marriage, and she was not able to have children. But the life she leads now is very much on the road to heaven. What do I mean by that? She's living for what's most really real. She loves God. She loves her neighbor. She's grateful for what she has. She works hard. She's patient. She's very prayerful. And you know what Sherry has? She has peace. And Christ talks about that quite a bit. This is paraphrased, but if you follow me, you will have peace. That's a life of heaven. Hell, let's think of the guy who has tons of money and blows it on a huge party with tons of women, and then wakes up the next morning completely exhausted physically, and spiritually, he didn't even know this kind of sense of death could occur in his own soul. Loneliness, exhaustion. Where's the meaning? That's hell. That's a form of hell. You talk to some of these guys, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a little experience of hell. Does God send some people to go to hell? Because God gives us real freedom. If he didn't give us real freedom, that is the abilities to say yes or no, we would be robots. And you know what? I'm here to tell you, some say no. What I want to do is hold two things in tension, both with our Catholic teaching and heritage, with the testimony of Marian apparitions and saints. Hell seems to be a real place with people really in it. At the same time, this is the other tension piece, God is infinitely merciful. Now, we can't even imagine what that means. We experience hell on this earth at times, if we're honest, and depending on what you've gone through. Is it reasonable to think that a hell exists? Allow people to experience what they've chosen in this life? There's consequences for saying, I don't choose the good. Now, how does that happen to my friend Spencer, who is not Christian, definitely not Catholic? He has hope for heaven. How does his salvation get worked out? In my opinion, that's one of the things that makes us human. We leave that to God. We're certain of certain things by reason and by faith, but there's many things we have to humble ourselves and say, I don't actually know how that gets worked out, but I know that salvation happens through Christ alone, and he is infinitely merciful. We still evangelize from salvation point of view. That actually is what makes God God. Take some time just to reassess. What I would not advocate is to launch you on a massive self-help quick fix program and then just take some alone time to really process what's going on in your life. What are your priorities? Who am I and who do I want to be? And then also say, Lord, I know I've really messed up, but I know you're merciful. And then you know what? I would recommend at some point having a good confession with a good confessor. And if you go to him and you receive the words of absolution, of forgiveness of Christ and forgiveness through his church, that you, and just like me, we can begin again. Aquinas, Augustine, all the saints of the church, they're very interested in one thing, happiness. And if you honestly explore the four last things, particular judgment, purgatory, heaven, and hell, it's those four topics have everything to do with the question of what's real happiness, what's the real journey of real happiness, and how can I attain it?